Hola! Today, you're going to be taking notes about verbos con cambio de raíz. In English, we call these stem-changing verbs. The notes that you're going to see on the slide are on these slides are in the same order as the notes in your notes packet. Make sure that you write down accurate information and ask me if you have questions. The first things you need to know are that these are actually regular verbs. You already know how to conjugate regular AR, ER, and IR verbs in the present tense. These verbs do use the regular AR, ER, and IR verb endings. You don't need to learn new endings to conjugate these verbs. The stem is considered the first part of the word. In other words, the entire word before the AR, ER, or IR ending. Stem changes affect one vowel in the first part of each verb. Another thing you need to be aware of is that the nosotros and vosotros forms do not have a stem change at all. Sometimes we call these verbs boot verbs, and for those of you who are very visual learners, I'm going to point something out that may help you as you learn how to conjugate these verbs. We strongly recommend that you draw a boot around the verb. You'll see what the boot looks like in the note to help you remember them. As I was saying previously, for those who are visual learners, it's definitely a useful technique to help them remember or help you remember which verbs have a stem change and which verbs do not. We're going to start off here with the one and only verb that changes from U to UE, or U a UE. This verb is jugar, which means to play sports or games. You'll notice that the letter U here is underlined in the infinitive at the top. That's because that's the letter that changes to something else. You'll see that the conjugation is yo juego, for I play, tú juegas, for you play, él, ella, or usted juega, for he or she plays or you formal play. You'll notice, however, that nosotros and nosotras, as well as vosotros and vosotras, the you stays. Nosotros or nosotras jugamos, vosotros and vosotras jugáis, and ellos, ellas, or ustedes juegan. They play, for ellos or ellas juegan, and you all play, for ustedes juegan. You'll note that all of the verbs that change from U to UE are inside of a couple of rectangles that have been drawn on the slide. We call it a boot verb because it kind of looks like a boot or a sideways letter L. The verbs inside of this boot change, and you'll notice that jugamos and jugáis, the two verbs that are outside of the boot, do not change. The U stays the same. Jugar is the only verb, once again, that changes from U to UE. We have three verbs here that change from E a IE, or E to IE. You'll notice that once again, the verbs that do have the change are within the boot, and the verbs where the E just stays the same in that first part of the verb is outside. This is a regular ER verb. Perder here means to lose. We have yo pierdo, I lose. Tú pierdes, you lose. Él, ella, or usted pierde, he or she loses, or you lose. Nosotros or nosotras perdemos, we lose. Vosotros or vosotras perdéis, you all lose. And ellos, ellas, or ustedes pierden, they lose or you all lose. And as mentioned before, the forms that change are inside that boot. The forms where the E stays the same are outside. Moving on to querer, which is one that you will use often, you'll notice that there are two vowels in the first part of the verb, but only the E is going to change to that IE. Querer means to want, and it's a verb that you'll be using very frequently. Yo quiero, I want. Tú quieres, you want. Él, ella, or usted quiere. He or she wants, or you want, formal. Nosotros or nosotras queremos. Vosotros or vosotras queréis. Ellos, ellas, and ustedes quieren. They want, or you all want. And once again, the verbs that have that E to IE stem change are in the boot, and the verbs with that E stays an E, doesn't change to anything else, are outside of the boot. Our final E to IE verb is preferir. You'll notice that there are two E's in the first part of the verb, in the stem of the verb. Only the second E, the one that is underlined, both in your notes packet and on this slide, changes. We have yo prefiero, I prefer. Tú prefieres, you prefer. Él, ella, or usted prefiere. He or she prefers, or you prefer, formal. Nosotros or nosotras preferimos, we prefer. Vosotros or vosotras preferís, you all prefer. And ellos, ellas, or ustedes prefieren, they prefer, or you all prefer. The final verb that you're going to learn today is one verb that changes from O to UE, or O a UE. There are multiple verbs that have this stem change from O to UE, but poder, which means to be able to, but which we also translate into English as can, such as I can swim, not very well, however, is the one you're learning today. We have yo puedo, tú puedes, él, ella, or usted puede, nosotros podemos, vosotros or vosotras podéis, and ellos, ellas, and ustedes pueden. Yo puedo, I am able to, or I can. Tú puedes, you are able to, or you can. Él, ella, or usted, he or she is able to, or he or she can. Or you are able to, formal, or you can, formal. Nosotros and nosotras podemos, we can. Vosotros and vosotras podéis, you all can. Ellos, ellas, and ustedes pueden, they can, or you all can. Now that you have the notes, make sure that you have accurate information and return to Canvas to complete the other activities. Follow the links in the order in which they're presented. Thank you.